a man checked his doorbell camera and noticed a terrifying detail. Someone wearing a hoodie was standing in front of his house on December 9th at 22:18, just 2 minutes after he'd entered his home at 22:16. He explained that it wasn't him in the footage, and he hadn't seen or heard anyone outside. So had someone followed him home that night? And did he unknowingly walk inside just moments before a dangerous situation could have happened? In Louisville, Kentucky, a couple entered a private yard. They walked around the property and checked the doors. The homeowner noticed them and told them to leave. The couple exited the property soon after.
Hey, who are you? Get out.
Luckily, no damage or theft was reported, and they didn't really look like thieves either, dressed so casually. But who knows what they were up to. In Samsun, Turkey, a masked woman goes door to door, shouting and banging on people's doors, inviting them to have a picnic with her. At first, people thought it might be one of their neighbors hiding behind a mask. But it turns out she is reportedly a schizophrenic woman who wears the mask to avoid being recognized by the police, as authorities take her to the hospital about once a week. Not one of their neighbors, after all. A homeowner got an alert from their Ring camera one night, but when they checked, they didn't really see anything, so they went back to sleep. The next morning, the owner looked again, this time more awake and paying closer attention. Then, they saw it. A faint, man-like figure standing near the wall, half hidden in the shadows, just standing there. At first, it looked like a creepy person, but its greyish, translucent shape made them wonder. Maybe it wasn't a person at all. Maybe it was a ghost. On December 26, 2018, around 2 in the morning, John Tharp's girlfriend stepped outside to leave for work. She saw a man in a tank top walking through their yard, even though the temperature was near freezing at 27 degrees. She called John immediately. They later checked the CCTV footage, and the figure didn't look normal. Its movement and shape seemed unusual, and the clip raised more questions than answers. Some think it was a glitch, but others believe it might have been something unexplained. This terrifying incident was captured inside an apartment building in Turkey. The footage was reportedly recorded in October 2025. In the video, a young girl is seen entering the building. At the same time, an unknown man follows her inside. She walks toward the stairwell, and that's when the situation escalates. The man begins following her closely. Realizing something is wrong, the girl starts ringing multiple apartment doorbells in panic. Then, just in time, a resident opens one of the doors and steps into the hallway. The moment the man sees this, he immediately turns around and leaves the building. The footage ends there. No further information about the man has been made public, and it's unclear whether authorities were able to identify or locate him afterward. All we can hope is the girl made it home safely. In San Antonio, Texas, a man living in a trailer received a strange alert from his outdoor camera. His dog was barking non-stop, but when he stepped outside to check, no one was there. Later that night, he reviewed the footage and froze. A translucent figure was standing near a pop-up table. Even the camera's AI flagged it as a human shape. He stayed inside the rest of the night, too shaken to go back out. To this day, no one has been able to explain what the camera captured that night. A man renting a beachside Airbnb woke up and saw a camera pointed at his bedroom window. When he checked outside, he confirmed it was aimed directly at his bed. The neighbor claimed it was for catching trespassers, but the angle didn't match. It could have faced the alley, yet it was focused on the room. People online called it creepy and told him to inform the Airbnb host and the police.
A young man stands at the door of a house and keeps pressing the doorbell. He tries to look through the window, checking if anyone is inside. The homeowner sees it on their camera and immediately calls the police. Within minutes, officers reach the spot and detain the stranger before he can leave. The incident ends quickly, leaving only the footage of a man whose intentions were unclear, but suspicious enough to share.
A Ring doorbell camera captured a seemingly ordinary moment. A young girl opening the front door of her home. But in the background, something strange appears. A translucent figure moves from left to right behind her. After entering the frame, the figure stops and remains standing in one spot. The footage was recorded at night, using a doorbell camera, meaning low light, infrared imaging, and compression all affect how the image appears. Unable to identify what they were seeing, the family shared the clip online. Reactions were divided. Some viewers believe the figure resembles a ghost. Others argue it's nothing more than a camera glitch, motion blur, or infrared artifact. With no clear explanation, the true identity of the figure remains unknown.
A woman in Lewan, Maine walked up to a house and rang the doorbell. But what made it horrifying was the knife she held tightly in her hand. She just stood there, silent, waiting. Moments later, she turned and walked away. The homeowner didn't know her, but several neighbors said she lives in the area. What was her plan?
On the night of October 18, 2023, Hodé Igiluz, a 23-year-old from the Basque Country, was spending the evening out in Antwerp, Belgium. Hodé was living in the city after securing a job as an engineer at the port of Antwerp. That night he was out with friends, celebrating the birthday of his friend Kevin. It was supposed to be a normal night. Music, drinks, laughter. In the early hours of the morning, after heavy drinking, Hodé left the club alone and began walking back toward his home. At the time, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But the next morning, friends tried to reach him. Calls went unanswered, messages were never read. At first they assumed he was asleep or recovering from the night before, but as the weekend passed, a growing sense of unease set in. Then Monday arrived. Hodé didn't show up for work. That's when alarms were raised. His friends and family contacted police and reported him missing. Investigators immediately began retracing his last known movements, and that's when the CCTV footage changed everything. Around 4 a.m., cameras showed Hodé walking alone through dark, nearly empty streets. Moments later, a man suddenly rushed him and stole his wallet. Despite being attacked, Hodé didn't stop to seek help. He kept walking. Only minutes later, 2 more men assaulted him and stole his phone. Now injured, intoxicated, and without any way to contact anyone, Hodé continued wandering through the city. Witnesses later reported seeing a young man matching his description near the river Scheldt. He appeared disorientated, confused, and struggling to find his way. That was the last confirmed sighting of Hodé Igiluz. For weeks, police searched Antwerp, but despite extensive efforts, no answers emerged. Nearly 2 years later, in 2015, the case reached a tragic conclusion. A large floating swimming pool anchored on the river Scheldt was being removed. During the operation, the structure unexpectedly sank. When it was lifted from the water, workers made a devastating discovery. Hodé Igiluz's body was found trapped beneath the floating pool. Investigators concluded that after the assaults, Hodé likely wandered toward the river in a state of confusion, and somehow ended up beneath the structure, unable to escape. A truly heartbreaking story. May Hodé rest in peace, and may his family and friends continue to be surrounded by strength, support, and remembrance.
Late one night, a man was woken up by a doorbell camera notification. Half asleep, he checked the footage and froze. There seemed to be a childlike figure peeking around the corner of his porch, watching. Could there really have been a child wandering around his property at that hour? The footage is grainy, too poor to tell what it was. But whatever it was What he saw that night still gives him chills. This girl always keeps her curtains closed. The reason is both absurd and deeply unsettling. Across the road, behind a tree, her neighbor watches. He just stands there, eyes fixed on her window. No one knows why he does it. Late one night, Mandy checked her home security camera and found something strange. The footage showed her snow-covered yard, and a faint figure stood near the edge of the frame. When slowed down, the shape looked like someone watching from the dark. But she lives in a pretty remote area, so it wouldn't make sense for anyone to just stand there. Mandy had already been dealing with odd activity around her home. Her CCTV often caught mysterious dark shapes moving at night. Mandy still doesn't know what appeared in her yard, and the mystery remains unsolved.
In Savannah, Georgia, a man noticed a chair sitting on someone's front porch. Without hesitation, he walked up to the house and did something completely unexpected. He simply took the entire chair and left the area. By the time the homeowner had realized what had happened, the man was already long gone.
At 3 a.m., a Reddit user saw something on their security camera in the neighborhood. It showed something moving quickly between two parked cars. The Redditor explained they have some crazy neighbors who might let their kids out late, but something about this feels eerie. They said either that family is even creepier than they thought, or something paranormal is haunting the neighborhood. On the night of June 6, 1992, the city of Springfield, Missouri was buzzing with celebration. It was graduation night, and two best friends, Suzanne Susie Streeter and Stacy McCall, had just finished high school. They spent the evening attending several graduation parties, and around 2 a.m. they returned to Susie's home on East Delmar Street, where she lived with her mother, Cheryl Levitt. And from that moment on, all three women vanished without a trace. The next morning, when friends arrived at the house to make plans for the day, they immediately noticed things weren't right. The front door was unlocked. The porch light was broken, with shattered glass on the step. Inside, everything seemed normal, but off. All three women's purses, keys, and clothing were still in the house. The TV was on. Susie and Cheryl's cigarettes were left untouched. Even the dog, Cheryl's Yorkshire Terrier, was still there, anxious but unharmed. There were no clear signs of a struggle. Despite hundreds of tips, polygraphs, national media attention, and even involvement from the FBI, there's been no confirmed sightings, no suspects, and no physical evidence explaining what happened to the three women, now known as the Springfield Three. Over the years, multiple theories have surfaced. Some believe the women were abducted by someone they knew. Others suggest it could have been a random intruder. There was even a tip that the women were buried beneath a parking garage downtown. But multiple digs and scans have turned up nothing. More than 30 years have passed since that night. Susie, Stacy, and Cheryl left behind grieving families, and a case that still haunts the Springfield community to this day. What happened inside that quiet home in the early hours of June 7th? Three women, no witnesses, no evidence, no answers. Just a heartbreaking, unsolved mystery. This couple was jolted awake at 2 a.m. by a Ring camera notification. When they checked the footage, they immediately noticed something disturbing. A figure was standing inside their living room. That night, their children were away. Only the couple was supposed to be inside the house. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken doors. The home is located in a newly built neighborhood, with no known deaths linked to the property. Some locals have mentioned rumors of an old indigenous burial ground in the area, but nothing has ever been confirmed. So who or what was standing in their living room at 2 a.m.? On August 30th, 2025, at around 9:10 p.m., a doorbell camera captured something strange. A glowing, misty shape appeared near the lens, human-like but with no clear face or edges. The uploader explained that her daughter's partner had recently passed away, and wondered if this was a sign he was still nearby. Some believe it's proof of a spirit's presence, others say it's just light, reflection, or even a passing bug. But it's a comforting thought that he's still watching over her. In the early hours of the 8th of December 2000, Trevor Deely, a 22-year-old man, vanished without a trace from the streets of Dublin in what would become one of Ireland's most baffling missing person cases. Earlier that night, Trevor had attended his work Christmas party. After leaving a nightclub in the Leeson Street area, he made an unexpected decision to return to his office to collect an umbrella, as heavy rain had set in and a taxi strike was underway. Security cameras captured Trevor inside the office building at around 3:35 a.m., briefly speaking with a colleague before preparing to walk home. Moments later, CCTV footage recorded him outside the building, engaged in a short conversation with an unidentified man dressed in black, a moment that remains one of the most critical and unsettling aspects of the case. At 4:14 a.m., a bank CCTV camera on Haddington Road captured Trevor walking in the direction of his home. This is the last confirmed image of him ever recorded. Despite extensive Gardaí investigations, repeated public appeals, renewed searches, and enhanced reviews of CCTV footage years later, no trace of Trevor has ever been found. Authorities have managed to identify and speak with some individuals seen on the camera that night, but the man who spoke with Trevor outside the office has never been identified or located. More than 2 decades later, Trevor Deely's disappearance remains an active investigation. And still, the question lingers. What happened to him after that final walk through the city? Let's hope that one day, the golden tip finally comes in. One evening, a homeowner in Kenwick, Washington, captured their neighbor on camera. It's unclear what sparked his fury or why he targeted that house. Even the homeowner seems confused, having no memory of any strange encounters with this person before. Sadly, no updates about the situation have been shared. This homeowner was lucky they had a doorbell camera. As the woman walks up to their doorstep, she reaches for a package, until she notices the camera. Her expression changes instantly, and she pretends she never meant to touch it. The clip went viral since so many people deal with package theft. Have you ever had something like this happen to you? It was past midnight when a restless man decided to go for a walk. He wandered through quiet streets until he passed a house that made him stop cold.
Jam berapa? Jam 12 nih. Boleh teh. Bita sendiri pa, sunyi. Patule. Kamu lihat teh. Ite Dari sih. Itu. Dari dalam.
There was a child at the front door, but it wasn't standing normally. It was upside down, crawling along the top of the door frame, its movement stiff and unnatural. He ran without looking back. Later he learned locals already feared that house. People said strange accidents had happened there for years, but no one ever found out why.
In Portland, Oregon, a truly frightening incident unfolded outside a home. An aggressive man approached the house carrying what appeared to be a spear. Without warning, he threw an object at the front door. Moments later, he raised the spear and began using it to try and force his way inside, repeatedly striking the door and attempting to destroy the doorbell camera. The entire encounter was captured on the Ring camera. Thankfully, after failing to break in, the man eventually abandoned the attempt and left the property. A mother felt a sudden urge to check on her baby late at night. Everything seemed fine, but when she later reviewed the Nanny cam footage, she froze. The video showed her baby in the crib,
almost asleep. Then a strange figure appeared beside the crib. Its limbs were bent, its movements human-like, but off. There was no one else at home. Online, some called it a ghost, and no one seems to have any other logical explanation.
In November of 2025, Dan Davis, a 59-year-old lighting designer, was living and working in Chicago. Dan was well known in the local nightlife scene. He worked as the head lighting designer at the Marionette nightclub on 115 Bourbon Street, a job he had held for years. On the night of November 25th, he had been involved in a serious car accident, a head-on collision that caused heavy damage to both vehicles. Emergency responders arrived at the scene, but despite the severity of the crash, Dan refused medical treatment. Police body camera footage later showed him speaking clearly and answering questions, but struggling to keep his balance. After leaving the scene, Dan finished his shift and left the club at around 1:15 a.m. But by the next day, something was clearly wrong. Dan failed to show up for his scheduled plans, and then he missed his shift at work. When no one could reach him, his manager filed a missing person report and contacted Dan's daughter, Wendy. What they found inside his apartment was deeply unsettling. The windows were open, the refrigerator door was open, a plate was shattered on the floor. Security footage from the building showed Dan leaving his apartment again, this time around 11 p.m. Cameras across the city later tracked him walking through several neighborhoods. He appeared alone. Then, the footage stopped. After that point, Dan Davis simply vanished. Despite reviewing traffic cameras, transit footage, and city surveillance, investigators were unable to determine where he went next, or what happened after those final moments on camera. To this day, his disappearance remains unexplained. If you have information on Dan's whereabouts, please contact the Chicago Police Department. This homeowner in Belgium received a notification from his home security camera late one night. When he checked the alert, the image stopped him cold. At exactly 11 p.m., the camera had captured a strange figure standing at the back of his house. The image itself is grainy and unclear, but the shape appears tall and light-colored, positioned close to the rear wall. Unfortunately, his camera doesn't record video, only still images when it detects a person or an animal. That means there's no footage showing how the figure arrived or where it went afterward. Some suggest it could be a person wearing a coat or blanket, standing near the house. Others believe it may be something far less threatening, a bug close to the lens, or a visual distortion caused by night mode. Without video, there's no way to confirm any explanation. And that single unanswered image is what left the homeowner uneasy, wondering what, if anything, had been standing behind his house that night.
At 3 in the morning, a neighbor asked to check the doorbell footage, thinking someone had tried to break in. But that didn't seem to be the case. The video showed a random man standing at the door, waving and laughing to himself. He wasn't trying to force entry or acting violent, just lost in his own world, harmless. Still, it would make anyone uneasy. A stranger smiling outside your door at 3 a.m. A security camera in a small rural area recorded something that shocked everyone who watched it. After a few seconds, a dark shape slips out of one building and moves quickly toward another. It crosses the open space in one smooth motion and disappears the moment it reaches the opposite wall. Some say the video was edited, but others are convinced the camera captured something unexplained. Late at night, cameras captured a woman moving from house to house with a knife in hand. She tried breaking in, but her movements were quick and erratic, as if she was running from something or someone. People watching the footage couldn't tell if she was dangerous or in danger herself. A man in Atlanta was walking up the stairs in an apartment building when he spotted a food delivery left outside a door. He paused and checked the receipt to see what was inside. Apparently, it was a good meal because he decided to take it with him, unaware he was being recorded by a doorbell camera. A neighbor walks up to a house and starts hitting the doorbell camera with an umbrella. She keeps striking it again and again, trying to break it. Apparently, she felt like her privacy was being violated by the camera, and instead of just saying something, this is how she handled it. One night around Halloween, while the homeowner was out, they got a notification from their doorbell camera app. What they saw was terrifying. A clown walked up to the porch, dropped a stained bag, and peered through the window. Then he spotted the security camera and stared straight into it with a creepy smile. Whether the homeowner ever found the bag is unknown. Was it all just a prank? A Redditor found this strange note on the floor outside a neighbor's house. They called their neighbor, and luckily, the neighbor was just fine, completely unaware of the creepy note outside their door. The Redditor suspects it might be a prank, saying it looks like a kid's handwriting. It better be. A man shared a photo taken on the day his late mother's house caught fire. Fire trucks and responders were in the frame, but something else stood out. A bright figure appeared near the flames, shaped almost like an angel. Many believed the angel was watching over the family during their loss, and the man agreed, saying the photo brought him a sense of peace.
This security camera reportedly recorded the final moments of a man while he was asleep inside his home. After his passing, the family reviewed the footage. That's when they noticed something unusual. In the video, a faint, transparent shape appears to rise from the area where the man was lying. The person who shared the clip insists the footage is authentic and unedited. Some viewers link the image to spiritual beliefs, the idea of a soul leaving the body at the moment of death. Others argue there are more technical explanations, such as camera limitations, changes in lighting, compression artifacts, or visual distortion. Still, the timing of the appearance makes it hard to believe it was just a coincidence.
It was around 2 a.m. when a man's Ring camera captured something strange in his backyard. In the lower corner of the footage, a dark figure appeared. The man swore there was nothing there before. Maybe it was just a shadow cast by the lights. But then what triggered the Ring camera in the first place? A man was walking through his neighborhood late at night when he saw a small kid running toward him, laughing. Startled, he turned and ran away. When the video went online, people couldn't agree on what it was. Some thought it looked too strange to be human, while others believed it was a lost child looking for help. Would you have helped the kid, or would you have been too scared?
A year or two ago, during a Thanksgiving dinner, a grandfather decided to show his family something unsettling. He pulled up images from his living room security camera. At first, everyone thought it would be nothing more than a glitch, but the first image immediately raised concern. A human-like figure appeared extremely close to the grandfather, no more than 1 or 2 feet away. The problem? No one else was supposed to be inside the house at the time. The second image made the situation even more disturbing. This time, the figure could be seen fully, standing in the room. In the final image, the figure appeared again, captured from a slightly different angle. Some family members suggested the possibility of an intruder hiding inside the house, but that explanation didn't fully make sense. If someone had really been standing that close, how could the grandfather not have seen them in person, especially when the first image was taken? There were no signs of forced entry, no noises, no movement noticed at the time. Whatever the camera captured left the grandfather deeply unsettled.
A woman had recently installed cameras to keep an eye on her new kitten while she was at work. She had lived alone for months without any strange activity. But one weekend, while she and the kitten were out of town, her phone started blowing up with motion alerts. For nearly 2 hours, from both her dining room and living room cameras. At first, every time she checked, nothing appeared on screen. Then, one clip finally showed something. The living room camera captured what looked like a small arm and part of a face moving along the edge of her coffee table. The movement didn't react when she spoke through the camera. It continued for hours, and then disappeared before morning. Ever since that night, she's noticed more orbs drifting through the house on camera, but she still has no explanation for what the cameras recorded.
A couple shared what appeared to be a simple home video. A woman sits on a bed while a young boy plays beside her. A fun, ordinary moment captured on camera. At first, nothing seemed unusual, but after posting the footage, they noticed something unsettling in the background. Behind them was a dark doorway. When the clip was slowed down and the brightness adjusted, a figure became visible standing inside the doorway. The figure appeared child-size, with short hair, pale skin, and what looked like a white dress. Most disturbing of all, its eyes appeared completely black. Some viewers linked the figure to stories of so-called black-eyed children. Not long after, the family moved out of the house. And according to them, whatever strange experiences they had been dealing with stopped once they left.
Jerome Kennedy and his wife Ashley lived with their baby in Pittsburgh. One night, Jerome heard noises above their bedroom and saw a light shining through a pipe in the ceiling. He set up a camera in the attic to find out what was happening. The footage showed their 69-year-old neighbor, Robert Havila, crawling around with a power drill. Jerome later discovered that the neighbor had made a removable wall to enter their attic and spy on them. Police arrested Robert and charged him with stalking and trespassing. But why was he spying in the first place?
After hearing strange noises coming from outside, this homeowner checked her Ring camera. At first, nothing seemed out of place on her driveway, but when she looked at the neighboring property, something unsettling appeared. On the neighbor's driveway, a child could be seen sitting there. The house next door had been empty for months, ever since the owner passed away 6 to 8 months earlier. Nervous but curious, the woman decided to step outside to see what was going on. But when she reached the driveway, no one was there. Confused, she went back inside and checked the camera again. The child was still visible on the screen. She went outside a second time, this time walking closer toward the neighbor's driveway. Once again, it was completely empty. By the next day, whatever had appeared on the camera was gone. It never showed up again. And to this day, she can't explain who or what was sitting there.
On September 23, 2021, a woman in New York noticed a man following her late at night. She had seen him moments earlier on the street. When she entered her building, he also walked in right behind her. Inside the lobby, he ran toward her, but she shut her apartment door just in time.
Hey, yo, Miss.
A neighbor's doorbell camera recorded the moment he tried to get her to open it, but eventually, he gave up.
Papi, open up the door, bro.
Cops searched for him for 2 weeks, and later, he was identified as a 41-year-old Orisha Lucky, who had 37 prior arrests for burglary. He was taken into custody soon after. One night, a few friends were recording music at home and posting on Snapchat. But then, their friends started commenting this on their video. They watched it back and noticed a pale face peeking through the window. It didn't move with the camera and didn't look like a reflection. The house was on ground level with 3 dogs that barked at anyone nearby, yet none of them made a sound. No one knows if it was a person or something else. One night, the doorbell rang. Thinking it was the mailman, the resident checked, but found only darkness outside. When the light was turned on, no one was there. Then he remembered. His new doorbell camera must have captured whatever it was. But when he checked, he froze. It's hard to make out, and while it could technically be a human, it looks more like a monster. The homeowner never figured out what it was, but one thing was clear. Something had definitely been there that night. A woman in Vietnam stepped outside to turn on her porch lights when she saw a small, dark figure running. She moved closer to see what it was, but then she ran back in fear. In the footage, the creature looks humanoid. It has arms and legs shaped like a person, but its size is far too small for any human. Unfortunately, she never shared what she saw. Could it be a gnome or a duende, or just a small animal?
In San Francisco, California, a doorbell camera captured a strange encounter. A man approached a private residence and attempted to get someone to open the door by pretending to be a police officer.
Police officer, open door!
Get away from my house!
Fortunately, the residents did not open the door, and the man's story quickly fell apart. After realizing his attempt had failed, the man left the area. Who he was and what his true intentions were remain unknown. At exactly 3 a.m., a doorbell camera recorded this scene. A faint white shape appeared in front of the lens. At first glance, it looked like a ghostly figure standing outside the house. Real or fake, if it was, it must have been terrifying to see near your home at night. This mysterious CCTV footage captured a strange moment. Take a look. As someone was biking through the streets, they were suddenly lifted or pulled back, and their bike seemed to be pulled into the air. It's unknown what the weather conditions were. Could it have really been a strong wind? Maybe, but the area around them doesn't seem affected at all. The footage remains a mystery. A woman was alone when the doorbell rang. She immediately opened the door, but no one was there. Later, when she checked the camera, it had captured a single frame showing two pale, blurry figures. She sent the photo to her friends, wondering if they were playing a prank, but her friends were home and now equally terrified. The house already had a history of strange occurrences: footsteps, doors opening and slamming, and hair being pulled when no one was near. This picture only added to her fear. One morning, a man living in Malaga, Spain, stepped outside and noticed something strange. The lamppost on his patio had been cut clean in half. Confused, he checked his security camera footage from the night before. What he saw only deepened the mystery. At the exact moment the lamppost breaks, a bright orb of light can be seen moving across his yard and passing directly by the lamp. So was this just a strange coincidence caught on camera, or did the footage actually capture whatever cut the lamppost in half? And if so, what was it? One afternoon, a Ring camera captured a strange event. A woman walked up to a house in broad daylight, but she wasn't there to visit anyone or deliver something. Instead, she held a piece of paper over her face, as if she didn't want to be recognized. Even so, the camera managed to catch parts of her face. Her unusual behavior raises the question: what brought her there that day, and why was she hiding? A Ring door camera recorded a man moving between apartment doors one night. The video shows him checking each entry and lifting doormats as he goes. A knife is visible in his mouth while he searches near the floor. It looks like he's searching for keys, which are often left under doormats. This suggests an attempt to gain access without force or noise. But then why the knife? Imagine someone opening your door with a knife in their mouth. That's terrifying. Maybe it's time to find a better spot for your keys. Now, if you're enjoying my videos, please consider subscribing to the channel.
Your support helps me creating new stories every week, and it means the world to me. Thank you so much for watching.
TikTok user Lily was home alone when, at 1:20 a.m., she suddenly heard her front door handle move. At first, she hoped it was just the wind, but the sound continued, steady and deliberate. Someone was trying to get in. A few seconds later, she showed footage from her security camera outside. It captured a man, dressed entirely in black, scanning the area before walking into the apartment complex. Unfortunately, no further updates were provided after that clip, but this was most likely the same person who was at her front door. Thankfully, nobody made it inside her apartment.
This picture went viral on Reddit, sparking all kinds of creepy stories. But the owner of the photo revealed the truth. Around 10 at night, he walked up to his front door, swinging his lanyard after a long day. Everything was normal until his phone buzzed. The doorbell camera had detected motion and sent a picture. When he opened the notification, he was shocked to see himself, looking like a serial killer. He laughed at how eerie it looked and decided to post it online. Turns out, not everything is what it seems. A young man came home around 1 a.m. and waited at the door. His family checked the Ring camera to confirm it was him and asked who he was bringing home. Confused, he said no one was with him. But the doorbell footage told a different story. A faint figure stood just behind him. Later, the family recalled that a homeless man had died near their home, and now they wonder if the figure was his ghost. While checking old photos, a user found a short clip their parents had sent months ago. It showed a faint figure walking across the backyard at night. The shape looked almost see-through as it passed a white SUV and faded into the dark. The clip lasted only 8 seconds, but it stirred debate online. Some said it was just bad lighting or poor camera quality. Others believed it was something ghostly. No one ever figured out who it was, and it didn't really make sense for anyone to walk there at that time. It just seemed off. A home security camera recorded a woman stepping outside her house. Nothing seemed unusual until, moments later, when a bright flash filled the frame and the woman vanished from view without any movement or warning, as if she'd been pulled forward. The camera continued to record the empty space, making it clear that nothing was blocking the lens or the scene. After several minutes, the same bright light returned, and the woman reappeared in the exact same spot. This time she looked confused and unsteady, turning her head as if the surroundings were no longer familiar. The video later surfaced online, but without any explanation from the woman, the incident remains a mystery. Reddit user Misha Lian shared a chilling story that recently resurfaced with new footage. Late one night, a friend's home security camera in a quiet neighborhood captured what appeared to be a baby. Concerned, the homeowner contacted authorities. Search and rescue teams were dispatched, thinking a real infant might be in danger. However, after reviewing the footage, officials reportedly concluded it was simply a camera glitch, but not everyone was convinced. The original images show what looks unmistakably like a small baby on the camera feed. Timestamp screenshots make it even stranger. In one frame, the baby appears clearly. Just 1 minute later, the figure is completely gone. No movement, no transition, no explanation. As if it simply vanished. Then, the story took an even darker turn. Recently, a video resurfaced on TikTok by user Ashes Stoyu, revisiting the case and adding unsettling new material. The TikToker revealed that the poster's daughter, Ensley, took a photograph showing a ghostly figure closely resembling the same baby seen on the security camera. The resemblance is strong enough that many believe it can't be a coincidence. The original poster added that even more unsettling, the baby looks exactly like her daughter Ensley when she was just 2 years old. Emergency services were called,
Investigations were carried out and official explanations were given. Yet, even with all that, the footage refuses to sit comfortably as just a glitch. While reviewing their doorbell camera, someone living in an apartment spotted something odd. At first glance, it looked ordinary, until they took a closer look. It was one of their neighbors carrying something very suspicious. It's not hard to see that it resembled a human shape. Was the neighbor just playing a prank, or does this person have a psycho living next door? Obviously, you can't just ask them, that'd be too dangerous. You'd have to inform the police. Unfortunately for us, the question remains unanswered. A man from Carlisle, UK, decided to spend a few months backpacking through Australia. Before leaving, he locked up his home, a small Victorian terrace, and set up a motion-activated camera connected to his Google Home, just in case. The house was meant to stay empty. Weeks later, while enjoying a warm evening on the other side of the world, he received a motion alert on his phone. When he opened the image, his blood ran cold. The picture showed his living room, and a hooded figure draped in what looked like a long cloak. Panicked, he called his father back home and asked him to check the house. When his father arrived, every door was locked, every window sealed. Nothing was out of place. Whatever entered his home that night left no trace, except for the image. Reddit user Hokolo posted a strange story. By noon, their father noticed a new mark on the front wall of a house in Ingandior, Thrissur, which prompted him to check the CCTV footage for any activity in the area. The video showed two men stopping near the wall. The first man paused to adjust his clothes, after which the second man stepped forward and made the mark. Their faces didn't match any local residents, raising questions about their identity. Both men then left the area, leaving the marked wall as the only evidence of what had occurred. On January 24, 2006, 24-year-old Jennifer Joyce Kesse mysteriously vanished from her condo in Orlando, Florida after leaving for work. She was never seen again. 2 days later, her car was found abandoned about a mile from her home. Surveillance cameras caught an unidentified person parking it and walking away, but the footage was too blurry to identify anyone. Inside her condo, investigators found signs she had started her morning routine, but her keys, phone, purse, and iPod were missing. Despite extensive searches, no confirmed sightings or arrests have been made. Over the years, her family and private investigators have pushed for new leads, and in recent years, the FDLE renewed the investigation after uncovering new DNA evidence. Jennifer's disappearance remains one of the most perplexing missing person cases in recent US history, and the mystery of what happened that day continues. A homeowner caught a thief stealing from their car on CCTV and shared the clip in their neighborhood Facebook group, warning everyone to lock their vehicles. But when they looked closer at the footage, something unsettling stood out. The person had unusually large hands. Some said it was just a man in a hoodie, others guessed it was a costume, and a few thought the way it moved didn't look human at all. No one ever found out who the visitor was. When a man checked his doorbell camera after detected motion, he saw something frightening. When he looked closer, he realized it was a black widow. Black widows are one of the most venomous spiders in North America. Their bite can cause severe pain, muscle cramps, and nausea, though it's rarely fatal to humans. He's been extra careful ever since when leaving or entering the house, but he's never seen the spider with his own eyes, which somehow makes it even more uneasy. A person posted this photo on Reddit. Apparently, it shows their neighbor, who does this on a daily basis. The neighbor just stands there staring. No speaking, no waving, just staring. Some commenters suggest the neighbor might have dementia,
Whatever the reason, it feels creepy. Mommy Wayopedia, a parenting YouTube creator known for her wholesome family content, shocked her viewers with footage from her own CCTV. For about a week, she had noticed strange human-like shapes appearing on her security cameras. But since her system had no memory card, she decided to stay up late and watch the live feed herself. Then, one night, she finally captured it. On the monitor, a transparent woman in a gown appeared, sitting quietly in the courtyard, facing the main entrance. At first, she thought it might just be a glitch, but this same figure had appeared on multiple cameras, in the same spot. So what was really caught on camera that night? And for creepy encounters, watch this next one.